Hurricane Melissa stronger again near Bermuda. It's arriving tonight. Well, we expect the last stop as a tropical hurricane for Melissa will be the island of Bermuda before it turns extratropical on its way to Atlantic Canada. Right now, though, it is still a strong Category 2 and possibly some suggestions that it is actually a major hurricane as it continues northeasterly and will be swiping to the western side of Bermuda overnight tonight. Latest as of 4 p.m. local time there right now, has the storm at 110 miles per hour, sustained winds and a pressure estimate of 964 millibars moving northeast at 30 miles per hour. So a quick motion on this storm for once, and with a wind field quite expansive as well, extending up to 190 nautical miles on the southeastern side, which of course will be the side facing Bermuda when the storm passes by. 29.4 north, 70.1 degrees west puts it 594 kilometers from Bermuda, but moving at 48 kilometers per hour, those numbers are going to tick down very quickly. 827 from Cape Hatteras, quite far away and passing by. 1319 from Nantucket, 1791 from Halifax, Nova Scotia, and 2509 from St. John's, which is the only other place that will actually get hit out of those locations. And of course, a hurricane warning right now in effect for Bermuda, but no hurricane-related warnings have been issued for Atlantic Canada. It will be post-tropical by then, but still want to point out it could still have very strong winds. So the primary hazard, of course, will be those strong winds once again. Winds of over 100 miles per hour possible on the island of Bermuda later on tonight. The closest pass will probably be close to midnight. The strongest winds are occurring on the eastern side of the storm right now, and that's expected to pass very close to the island tonight, with the strongest winds most likely to be just a few miles offshore. But if it does wobble a little bit, then obviously that puts Bermuda under those strongest winds. There's the forecast, taking it very close by, passing by Newfoundland as well, getting into the weekend, turns post-tropical, and then it ends up dying out, what's left of it by the time we get into early in the week near Iceland. Now, it was expected to merge with an extratropical low, but models are starting to come on board with it, with Melissa being the dominant system, so that's why we're showing the longer range track there, whereas earlier we didn't. Current winds right now are probably around 110 miles per hour. NHC are a little bit lower, interestingly, but Recon are getting winds now and again of 115 miles per hour after the conversions, and ADT satellite estimates are way higher at 120 to 125 miles per hour, but they're still pretty cooked after what Melissa already did earlier on. They've still, I don't think, have calibrated properly ever since Melissa's Category 5 peak. The view from the National Hurricane Center's forecast cone there, expecting the storm to pass very close to Newfoundland with hurricane force winds on Friday night into the early hours of Saturday morning, and then it will be moving right over the North Atlantic and eventually heading off towards Iceland as mentioned. Storm force winds, we're looking at a good 80% chance for the southeastern tip of Newfoundland and pretty much a guarantee for Bermuda. GFS shows that the storm holds its own against that big extratropical cyclone nearby, and yes, actually does hold on as the dominant system as it pushes northeastwards. Another really chunky and powerful extratropical storm forming there as well next week, brushing Atlantic Canada too. Melissa holds on to those hurricane force winds for a good while, just about into the 2nd of November, and then what's left of it ends up careering towards northern Europe, where storm force winds may also be felt in the British Isles, and for Iceland, not so much because that is on the weaker side. Looking at the radar reflectivity for the next few days as well, you'll note that the northern side of the storm, pretty much for the rest of its duration there, is going to be producing the heaviest rainfall. We're no longer expecting massive amounts of rain, but certainly for Newfoundland, those numbers could start to get up there a little as well. The reason why we're not expecting huge amounts of rain is because the storm is moving more quickly now towards the northeast, so there's less chance for those rains to accumulate in one certain location, and the storm storm, as it does continue to move further north, will eventually run out of steam, with those sea surface temperatures about to drop off a cliff, and those rainfall the rainfall potential will decrease. Nonetheless, for Bermuda, we could be looking at storm totals of around 3 to 4 inches of rainfall. That is up to 100 millimeters. And for Newfoundland, really actually not that much, up to about 1 inch probably. That would be 25 millimeters. Not associated with the storm, but associated with an extratropical feature as well, possibly being enhanced by Melissa. We're also seeing quite a lot of rainfall over New York State, extending into Canada as well, towards Montreal. Sea surface temperatures, though, are still looking pretty good for a little while longer. Bearing in mind this storm's quick movement will take it away from those warm temperatures very quickly. It's only got a matter of a few hours left. By the time it does make its pass by Bermuda, the storm should be finishing up, certainly in terms of any strengthening, and will start to be weakening once again. Over those colder sea surface temperatures, we should be seeing extratropical transition begin pretty much as soon as the storm passes Bermuda tonight. Latest satellite imagery, yes, it looks like it's moving slowly, but let's bear in mind this is 1 minute imagery from the Rapid Scan GOES 19. So this is only about a 30-minute loop, showing that the storm's eye is still relatively visible there, but quite disorganized at this point. Recon, we're finding decent winds on the eastern side, up to 115 knots at flight level. However, the western side is showing the highest rainfall on that satellite profile, certainly the biggest convection, which at times is still well into the -70s. Movement there towards the northeast, clearly shown that National Hurricane Center's vector looks sound to me, and dry air along that western side may start to encroach the storm over there as well a little bit. Wind shear not completely apparent, but it's just this storm motion really that's meaning it's going to be relatively stable for that intensity until those temperatures underneath it start to drop off. Dry air will really start to get its way into this storm, looking at this water vapor imagery when it gets to Bermuda, but for the time being it's still looking good and still threatening major hurricane status once again, and we should be treating it like that as it reaches Bermuda tonight. Continuing northeasterly is the trend, and yes, look at that, even some -80 degree cloud tops there and higher still on that western side, which is keeping on fighting. As mentioned, there's that low pressure system stalled over the United States right now, over Ohio by the looks of things, and also from Melissa's energy being shoved up there, lots of rainfall possibly for the New York State region into Quebec and Ontario, possibly in Canada. Well, Melissa, still a high-end Category 2 at this point, moving northeastwards. There it is on the map. Sonia is no longer available. A tropical depression in the Arabian Sea that we actually marked earlier today finally made the upgrade there. An area of interest in the Bay of Bengal that could develop up to 30%, and now 70% in the Western Pacific. That one is the next one to watch around the world tropics.